4:03 in the AM can only mean one thing, fam. Just wrapped up a session of 510 No Limit Texas Hold'em here at the Bellagio. That is the first thing I have to tell you guys about. The second thing I have to tell you about is I just got back from Australia. WPT Australia. Much more on that later. Let's get into some poker hands here from the Bellagio 510 action. We are diving right in here, guys. I know how much you guys like the hand histories. I'm not going to mess about. Let's get right into it. First hand that I'm dealt at the must move game. I put the straddle on, of course, as one does. First player to act, he limps in. Folds around to the big blind, that player calls. We look down at ace queen suited in hearts. We're not going to check this one. We're going to raise this one. I make it $90 to go. That player who's under the gun calls. Player on my right in the big blind calls as well. 3 ways to a flop. Guess what, guys? It's a favorable one. Comes down, heart, heart, heart. 10-5-3 in hearts. We're flopping the nuts right away. Easy game. Welcome back to Vegas. Big blind checks. We don't need to bet too big on monotone boards. I'm going to bet $100. Player on my left, he folds. Player on my right, he also folds. Unfortunately, no major action to be found when we flop the nuts here, but we'll take it down here on hand number 1. All right, in this next hand, the player in the hijack limps in, folds over to us on the button, look down at king 6 of diamonds. I'm gonna try and ISO this limper. I got myself suited king, I got the button. I'm gonna raise it up and make it $50 to go. Only that limper makes the call. Queen, jack, jack, 1 diamond. My opponent checks, I'm not gonna check. High cards should favor the raiser. I got a backdoor straight draw and a backdoor flush draw. I wager $40. Player in the hijack wagers additional money. He makes it $100 to go. We got that backdoor stuff going on, but I think the jig is up here. I'm gonna let it go. I make the fold. I fold my king high, and my opponent shows me a jack. Trip jacks, big hands, easy to come by here at the Bellagio. In this next hand, we've played a full orbit right back in the same configuration. The hijack limps in. Once again, we're on the button, look down at another big hand. Pocket kings, the second best hand ever created. Same situation, gonna raise it up here. Raise it up with the bluffing type hands, the suited king. Last time, this time I'm raising it up with the goods. $50 to go again, and once again, that player calls. So heads up to a flop, which once again comes down favorable for us. King high flop. We're flopping the nuts again. King, queen, 6 to be exact with 2 spades. Unfortunately, my opponent is none too pleased with this flop and shows the pocket 4s and just tosses them away. Sadness, very sad. If it comes down king, queen, 4, you know what, guys? We're gonna make a lot of money in this hand, but king, queen, 6, no money to be made there. No. All right, in this next hand, the must-move game that we are in has gotten a little short-handed. We're playing 5-handed, and I have the straddle on once again. Player who is first to act on my direct left, his name is Nate. He's from South Carolina. He didn't come all the way from South Carolina to not raise it up. He makes it $50 to go. Folds over to me in the straddle spot, looking down at ace deuce of diamonds. We got ourselves an easy call here. So heads up to a flop that comes down, giving us top pair, ace king 9 with 2 spades. I check, Nate bets $40. We got ourselves, once again, an easy call. Not loving it, of course, considering the fact that we could be easily outkicked versus the under the gun raiser, but have to do what we gotta do. We make a call and we are off to a turn card, which comes a deuce. Love to see that, beating ace queen, ace jack, ace 10, all other aces that aren't 2 paired. I check, my opponent bets $110. I don't think I would do anything on this board other than flat call, even if I have a hand as strong as pocket 9s. Now, I know what you guys are saying, who needs balance in live poker? And you guys would have a very reasonable point. But, you know, I play like I play. I'm gonna flat call here again. I make the call for the $110. We are off to a river card, which is not a good one. It's an offsuit king. We are now counterfeited. We are playing aces and kings with a 9 kicker. I continue to play in flow here. I check it over to Nate, who does not stop wagering money. This time he bets $230. It's not exactly a huge bet. You know, if we're facing an overbet, then we're really hating life here. As it is, we might be getting milked. We might be getting milked in this spot. You know, I think he probably has to worry a little bit about that card. I think the king is actually a little bit better for me, although he's still always going to have the strongest hands here, such as pocket aces, pocket kings, ace king. Anyway, we're just going to have to not give him full credits here. There's a flush draw that missed, we don't block that. There's potential straight draws, there's combo draws, all the above. I'm gonna need to see some proof, see some receipts. I toss in the call, and my opponent cannot show me the receipts. He shows me the 10-8 of hearts. That, my friends, is not going to win this hand. My hand is gonna win this hand. We win. We as a group, you guys, the vlog watchers, and me, the vlog creator, we're winning this one. Send it. Yes, I'm doing all this in the Bellagio at 4 a.m. just Just wondering if anyone is watching me. All right, this next hand, still short-handed here. We are looking down at a nice looking pair of ladies from under the gun. I make it $30 to go. Player 2 to my left makes the call, and the player in the small blinds wants to put in a raise. He is a player who has been getting kind of active. He's the one who's been limping in the hijack a couple of times. We've been battling a little bit already. He told me I made a very tight fold when he opened the button. Small blind called and I folded the big blind. He didn't approve of that play. So it looks like he's getting into the mix here. He raises up to $140. He's from Monaco, and he actually goes by Sterling a lot of the time. His actual name is James, though, he told me. But we're going to call him Sterling because apparently that's what he likes to go by. From Monaco. Again, from Monaco. Very important. So anyway, he 3-bets, and we're going to 4-bet. We're playing a little short-handed here. I got myself a premium, third best hand I ever created. I'm going to put in a 4-bet. $360. A lot of scratch, guys. I know, a lot of scratch. Don't get nervous here. I make it $360. Player on 2 to my left, he folds, and Sterling thinks about it for a little while before deciding he did not come all the way from Monaco to fold to 4-bets. He makes the call. So we're going heads up to a flop 8-7-4 with 2 diamonds. My opponent checks it over to me, and it's kind of interesting because this type of flop, obviously not great for us. There's worse flops, of course, containing an ace or a king. These connected low to middle card boards are definitely going to be better for a pre-flop caller. However, in a 4-bet pot, I don't think that's going to matter as much. The stack sizes are going to be shrunken. We're just going to be looking to get all in here with our pocket queens. That being said, I don't know if I need to just blast away. We are somewhere around $1,000 effective on the flop here, and I choose to wager 270 of those dollars. My opponent is undeterred. He makes the call. So we're off to a turn card, which comes the Ace of Diamonds. Not my favorite card. We do have the Queen of Diamonds. So if he does something crazy, like just open rips it here on this turn card, I don't think we can fold having the Queen of Diamonds in our hand. Not going to be able to just give him credit for a flush. And, he's going to have to peel the flop with Ace King in order for us to give him credit for for pairing up on the turn card here. So it doesn't come to that. He checks it over to me. I'm going to check it back here. That's one of the very few cards that I am going to check back. A lot of other cards I was just going to rip the remaining $700 to $800 in there. Not this one. I check it back. River's a deuce of diamonds, so we end up with the second nuts here. Interesting though, my opponent leads out on this river card, $220. We have ourselves an easy call. I don't think there's any point in raising here with the Queen of Diamonds. I'm not sure he's going to find a call with worse flushes, and I think a call is pretty standard here. So I toss it in, expecting to win a pretty decent amount of the time, and my opponent shows us King Jack of Diamonds. King Jack of Diamonds for the nuts, turned the nuts. I don't think there's anything too different that I could have done in this hand. I really like pretty much every street that I played. Could have maybe bet more on the flop. Obviously, he's not going anywhere. I like my 4-bet pre-flop. We got peeled by a King Jack, so great situation all around. Just didn't get the cooperation from the fine dealers here at the Bellagio in the middle of the Las Vegas Strip. What can you do? All right, moving on with life and moving over to the main game, one of the main games. Busy night here. It's Friday night at the Bellagio. When I looked at Bravo, there was 5-10 games going. I think we're down to 4 now, but still a very busy night. We're on the main game. Cutoff brings it in for $40. We look down at the 8-7 suited in the small blind. Now, if you guys know anything about me, you know I like to often play a raise or fold strategy from out of position, particularly the small blind. This case, no different. I raise it up to $160. Folds back around to the cutoff, who makes the call. Heads up to Jack 6-3 rainbow with 1 diamond. Obviously not the best flop of all time, but not the worst. We have some barreling opportunities, so I'm going to start here on the flop. I bet $110, still repping good hands. Again, with some barreling opportunities, my opponent makes the call. Turn is an offsuit 5, so we've got ourselves a barreling situation, ladies and gentlemen. We turn open-ended, so I'm not just going to go into check call mode. I'm going to apply some pressure here on the turn. I bet $250, and after thinking about it, maybe I could have even bet more here. Maybe I should bet very large with some pretty good equity and that 7 blocker to the strongest hands. Maybe I should just put the absolute hammer down in this spot. But $250 it is in the moment. My opponent thinks for a little while, and he makes the call. So we're looking for some help here, or looking to apply additional pressure on the river, and thankfully the former happens when we make the nuts on the river. That's an offsuit 9. that stack size is $800 that's remaining here on the river. That amount of money is going to get shipped into the middle. I wager it all. My opponent does not snap call, unfortunately. He wants a count. He wants to know if I cover him or who covers who. He gets the counts. Again, around $800. We're hoping for a call here, and we get the call. We do get the call. I roll it over, and we do not get to see what my opponent had. He must have had something pretty good, maybe a big pair, maybe ace-jack, something like that. We find some run good here at the Bellagio. Some very favorable situations that have occurred in some of these hands. It's been a little while since I've been back at the Bellagio, but it's good to be back. All right, in this hand, the under the gun player limps in. I think he wasn't sure if he was the big blinds, but he limps in. He looks down at King Jack on the button. I decided to make it $30. Could go a little bit bigger here with the limper in front of me, but 30 it is. Big blind and the limper make the call. So 3 ways to a flop comes down ace, 10, 5, rainbow. They check it over to me, and I don't mind a c-bet or a check here. Heads up, I definitely prefer a c-bet. 3 ways, probably doesn't matter either way. I decide to check it back though. The more multi-way it is, the more straightforward I tend to play. Decide to just take it to the turn, which is a favorable one, you guys. It's a queen. It's a queen. Yeah, absolute Yahtzee, left and right. This time the small blind leads out for $50. The under the gun limper, he gets out of the way. I'm just gonna call here. We're not super deep. He's only got about $250 remaining, so we're quite shallow. I don't want to overrep my hand too much. I flat call, set the trap here. I'm in position so I can ensure that there's a wager on the river. The river is a brick offsuit deuce. It's an absolute beauty. He checks it over to me, and I'm gonna go for the maximum here. I wager $250, which covers his stack size. He thinks for a little while before deciding he's calling. He wants to see the receipts. We've got the receipts, you guys. Once again, we've got the absolute nuts. Easy game. We've got the winner. All right, in this hand, we are quite short-handed. I believe we are 4-handed. Again, there's one limp. We look down at ace queen on the button. We've got ourselves a very standard raise in this spot. I make it 40 this time, and the player on my left decides to put in a 3-bet. He's in the small blind. He makes $160 to go. Folds back over to me. Something that I didn't include in this discussion thus far is that there was a hand just previous to this where I had 3-bet 9-7 suited in diamonds, and I kind of lifted my cards up to where I allowed him to see the cards, allowed him to see that situation where I 3-bet this hand. So I don't know, maybe he's coming after it a little bit. Of course, he could have a hand, but with ace queen, I kind of like a 4-bet here. We could play in position, we could flat call in position, but I think we've got pretty good removal to strong hands, and you know, he doesn't have to be doing this with anywhere near only strong hands out of the small blind versus my button raise with a limper in the hand. So I think a 4-bet makes sense. I decided on a sizing of 360 United States dollars, and my opponent promptly raises all in for no less than a little over $2,000 effective. So, yeah, unfortunate, but who knows? I mean, seems like he's got a good hand. If he's got a bluff there, then that's pretty cool. If he's got ace jack or ace 5 suited or something like that, that's pretty cool. But we are going to be forced to let it go here. Our string of endless making the nuts has come to an end. We torched the $360. Let this one go. All right, moving right along here. I believe we are 5-handed. In this hand, I look down at Jack 10 suited. I make it $30 to go in late position. Folds over to the big blind who wants to play for more money. He makes it $130 Bellagio dollars to go. Folds back over to me, never folding a hand as pretty as Jack 10 suited to a 3-bet. I didn't come all the way from Australia where I recently was. Had a great time. Again, more on that just in a little bit after I get through these hands. Yeah, I'm calling with Jack 10 suited. So we are heads up to a flop that comes down. Jack 10 8, rainbow, giving us top 2 pair. The opponent checks it. I'm not going to check it. Flop top 2 pair here. I think that deserves a wager, you guys. A wager it is, this time to the tune of $140. My opponent thinks for a little bit, and he's calling. So we're off to a turn card, which is the 6 of spades, a second spade. I like that card. It doesn't change the texture of the board at all. He checks it over to me again. I'm going to bet it again. This time I wager $340. I like this situation here. I feel like if my opponent had a very strong hand, he would have just continued c-betting or check raised the flop. We got top 2 pair here. I'm accepting all wagers, but he decides on a flat call, and we are off to a river, which comes down to king, offsuit king. Checks it over to me again here. I'm a little unsure about this card, you guys. I think he could easily be pot controlling flops and turns with pocket kings, but if that's true, you could also have pocket aces and pocket queens. Perhaps he could have a hand like King Jack. He could have a hand like Ace Queen. Maybe Ace Queen of Spades, possible. Honestly, I'm not exactly sure where I'm at. And I'm not sure what I can get value from at this point. So I decided to play a little bit safe here. I just check it back. Not sure if I love it, not sure if I hate it, not sure if I'm indifferent about it. So yeah, I check it back and my opponent shows us Ace Jack. We can beat that, we got 2 pair. So, you know, would he have called a bet on the river with that hand in particular? Seems kind of unlikely. Feels like it's a pretty bad card for him. Not too sure whether it's worth going for some value there on the river, but happy to drag in all the value that we did manage to get. All right, if you're enjoying these hands, you are just gonna love this next one. I can just tell. You guys have it written all over your faces. All right, so we're playing 3-handed here. The small blind folds. I have the straddle on the button, which normally I would not do when the straddle the button, but these guys were doing it and it felt like I should do it if they're doing it too. Normally, I don't think the button straddle is great for the game. I think it can actually kill action, but if nobody's really adjusting to it, then it's fine. And if everyone's doing it, then I'm not gonna be the only one to not do it. So I got the straddle on the button, and small blind is first to act, who folds, big blind calls. We have ourselves Ace 10 offsuit, definitely raising this hand and make it $60 to go, and the big blind makes the call. Flop comes out great for us, comes out 10 high with 2 hearts, 10-4 deuce. Interesting that the big blind decides to lead out on this board, on this flop. He bets $60 himself. I'm gonna raise here. It's a pretty wet, dynamic board. I am going to raise it up with my top pair, top kicker, up to $200. The opponent doesn't take too much time before agreeing to the price. He makes the call, and we are off to a turn card, which comes down the Queen of Hearts. This time he checks it, and it's kind of an interesting spot here. We have the Ace of Hearts, makes it a little less likely that he has hearts. We no longer have top pair. Do we want to see a check raise here if we decide to wager on this card? You know, don't love it, don't hate it kind of situation, but I decide to check it back here and see what develops on the river. River's a good one for us. It's another heart. We end up with the nuts. Seems like I've been saying that a lot during this hand analysis section of this vlog. 5 of hearts gives us the nuts, and even better news, guys. Great news happening left and right here at the Bellagio. My opponent leads out for $400. Is there anything sweeter than when someone bets into you and you're holding the nuts? Is there? I don't know. We're gonna have to try and go for some more value here. He's only got another $600 behind, so that leaves 1 wager size that is going to make any sense whatsoever, and that's all in. I wager $1,000 total, which is all of his chips, and he snap calls, just bang, snap calls. So that's $1,000 victory here on the river, plus all the other chips that went in earlier in this pot. This is a big one. We're dragging a big one, and it's not exactly, you know, like I'm doing anything all that special or talented, I don't feel like. Just making strong hands, aka the nuts, in several hands here at the Bellagio. Life is good. All right, in this hand, we are playing 4-handed. Button raises it up to $40. We're in the small blind, looking down at a premium, second best hand ever created. As mentioned earlier in this vlog, pocket kings, you guys know that by now. I make it $160 to go. Folds back to the button, who makes the call. So heads up to a flop. 8-7-7 with 2 hearts. I am going to wager on this board. Not sure if this is that great of a flop for 3-better. I'm gonna have some sevens in my range. Don't have to check range here, I don't think. So I wager $180. Interesting news, my opponent raises. He decides on the old 420 bet. $420 to go. We're obviously not folding. We got pocket kings here. I'm gonna make the call. Toss in the 420. We are off to a turn card. 4 of hearts on the turn completes potential flush and potential straight draws in 5-6. I have the king of hearts in my hand, so I'm not necessarily too afraid of the situation. Of course, not going to lead out. I check it, and my opponent checks back. Rivers and offsuit 10 potentially completes some other straight draws, although it would be pretty rare to just see a jack 9 here, especially the offsuit variety. I'm gonna check it though. I just have my pair of kings unimproved, still losing to a potential trip 7s that didn't like the run out either, but my opponent checks it back, feeling much better now. I roll it over, and it is in fact the winner. That brings us to approximately 4 in the morning, you guys. I get into this game for $1,900. I get out of this game for an even $4,300. It's good to be back home. It's good to be back at the Bellagio. According to my math, that is a $2,400 victory on this fine Friday night / Saturday morning. October in Vegas, a lovely place to be, a lovely place to be. Right, so as mentioned, Australia. I just got back from Australia. Guys, I wasn't allowed to film in the cash games there. Very strict, very tight regulations. I was allowed to film in the tournaments. but I bricked everything. I played 3 bullets worth of tournaments. Brick. I got nothing on that front. Guys, I got no poker to report to you. You got lots of hands here from the Bellagio, so don't be upset that there's no poker from Australia. We had an awesome time at the meetup game. Yeah, to go all the way around to the other side of the world, down under, as they say, and to find so many enthusiastic fans in Australia for poker vlogs and meetup games, and to get 10 tables worth of meetup games. Great times. But as mentioned, no actual reporting to do from the tables themselves. That being said, if you go to Australia and you don't make a montage, did you really go to Australia?
Well done.